As you read along for 3.10 Art of Ancient Rome 2. In 27 BC, Julius Caesar's 19-year-old great-nephew and adopted son, Octavian, was given the title Caesar Augustus and began his rule of the Roman Empire as the first emperor. Augustus restored peace and stability to Rome after the chaos and crumbling of the Roman Republic following the assassination of Julius Caesar. The period of Roman peace and prosperity established by Augustus was known as the Pax Romana, or Roman peace, and it lasted 200 years. Artists created many exemplary artworks during the Pax Romana, including in-the-round sculptures, frescoes, and mosaics. During the Pax Romana, Roman sculptors found inspiration from Greek, Etruscan. The Etruscans inhabited the area before the Romans, and earlier Roman Republic sculpture, and created new styles of sculpture. In portraits of private citizens, artistic conventions were to show realistic detail and individualized features, wrinkles, warts, and all. Sculptures attempted to capture the real character of the individual. For the official portraits of emperors, sculptors tried to capture individual features, but they idealized their subjects to emphasize perfect proportion, physical fitness, and ideal character. Roman emperors used these sculptures as propaganda to demonstrate their might and to reflect the importance of the Roman Empire. What other cultures can you think of that used art to demonstrate the might of rulers? Augustus of Prima once stood in the atrium of the villa belonging to Augustus's second wife, Livia, in Prima near Rome. The sculpture possibly depicts Augustus addressing his troops. Through this idealized depiction, Augustus appears as a peaceful leader, but once ready to take charge of the military, as shown in his calm facial expression and stance and his armor depicting military victory. By including the small figure of Cupid at Augustus's right leg, the sculptor also shows Augustus as a ruler touched by the gods. Cupid's presence declares that Augustus is a descendant of the goddess Venus, Cupid's mother. Originally painted in a variety of colors, Augustus of Prima is an imposing 6 feet 8 inches tall. Though it bears a resemblance to the real Augustus, this idealized portrait emphasizes the emperor's youth, strength, authority, and skill as a leader. That is the image of Rome and its emperor. That is the image of Rome and its emperors that Romans wish to project. To make figures appear lifelike, Roman artists gave them the contrapposto pose, originally used in Greek sculptures such as the spear bearer. Figures have natural, balanced S shape, with the legs and arms set in opposition to each other, one relaxed, the other tensed. Notice how Augustus's weight rests on his forward straight leg. With his left leg bent at the knee, he appears stationary but ready to take a step at any moment. Greek sculpture inspired Roman artists in many ways. In fact, Roman sculptors made marble copies of many original Greek bronze pieces. Most of the bronzes have not survived, and we know them through their Roman copies. This sculpture of Augustus is possibly a copy of an original Roman bronze. Fresco was another medium Roman artists used to create realistic scenes and figures. Fresco painters can use two basic techniques: true fresco or dry fresco. To make a true fresco, you apply wet plaster to a wall and paint it before the plaster hardens. The paint soaks into the plaster, and when the plaster hardens, the paint and plaster are permanently bonded. To make a dry fresco, you paint on the wall after the plaster hardens. The paint does not soak into the wet plaster to become permanently bonded. So you have an adhesive such as glue or egg yolk You add an adhesive such as glue or egg yolk to the pigment. Unlike true fresco, where you have to get it right the first time, you can make mistakes in a dry fresco. The walls of Roman homes had few doors and windows, so artists created the illusion of large windows and natural light in the large expanses of interior walls by painting lifelike landscapes and figures. The Ixion room of the 1st century AD, House of the Veti in Pompeii, contains fine examples of Roman frescoes. Many ancient frescoes have not survived, but those in Pompeii were spared by an act of nature. In AD 79, Mount Vesuvius erupted, burying Pompeii and other nearby villages beneath ash and pumice. What destroyed Pompeii actually preserved its art and architecture. The artists who painted these frescoes used rich colors. Roman artists rarely used the deep red you see in these paintings. Made from a mineral called cinnabar, it was the most costly color of the time. And you can click through these pictures. Roman painters created 4 styles of frescoes. Panels filled with faux finishes such as marble or wood, architectural views that extend the space beyond the surface of the wall, small framed scenes, paintings that look like picture galleries. In the Ixion room, the 4th style, the artists filled the walls of the room with painted architectural frames, creating a sort of gallery of images on display. Nearly all of the architectural details, including columns, window frames, and colored marble panels, are painted. Artists filled the frame with a variety of scenes, including architectural vistas, still lifes, landscapes, and scenes with figures. The figures in Roman frescoes appear lifelike because the artist painted them in natural poses and from a single viewpoint so that it appears as though you are looking through an actual scene. Artists also used the Roman convention of shading with darker hues to create a sense of three-dimensional form. Artists created depth with a technique called atmospheric perspective, painting foreground objects with vibrant color and details and background objects with lighter color and less detail, mimicking the natural effect of the atmosphere. They also created a scene of perspective by aligning architectural elements along implied and leading lines that converge in the distance. To see an audiovisual presentation that shows some of these conventions that Roman fresco artists used, select Art Lecture. To see a slideshow presentation, select this right here. And here's where you can play this video. The Roman artists who made mosaics copied techniques that painters used in frescoes. To make a mosaic, you press tiny tiles called the tesserae into moist cement called grout. Once the tesserae are firmly set in place, you will fill the spaces between them with grout, and then clean and polish the entire surface of the mosaic. The tesserae in Roman mosaics are made of brightly colored stones, pebbles, and smooth cubes of colored marble. Roman mosaic artists meticulously arranged tesserae to represent people and places, as well as strikingly balanced and intricate geometric patterns. The Romans put mosaics on floors and walls. Floor mosaics in Roman buildings are sturdy surfaces that hold up well to traffic, much like carpeting in modern houses. Mosaics decorate the walls and floors of luxurious Roman villas such as the House of Fawn in Pompeii, built during the 1st century BC. Like the House of Veti and villa of Augustus's wife, the House of Fawn was a large home owned by a wealthy Roman family and had lush gardens and beautiful works of art. The Battle of Issus is a floor mosaic in the House of Fawn. It depicts a battle that took place in 333 BC when Alexander the Great, at the far left of the mosaic, sought to conquer the Persian army at Issus. Although injured and greatly outnumbered by his enemies, Alexander won the battle. Why might people of ancient Rome have been interested in this event, which took place hundreds of years earlier? The mosaic artists who designed the Battle of Issus created a remarkably dramatic scene filled with twisting, lunging figures. They based the piece on a painting by the same name. The mosaic demonstrates a Roman convention of adding shading to create a sense of three-dimensional forms. To model the forms, mosaic artists used extremely tiny tesserae in several shades of the same hue, darker hues for shaded areas and lighter hues for highlights. And then you can go through a few activities to review what we've just read.